What is going on, everybody? I hope you're all doing well, and thanks as always for watching. Today we are checking out the DSM and Humboldt Dumbifier Overdrive Special. This is an all analog 0-watt 2-channel guitar amp based on, hence the title, the ever elusive and magical Dumble Overdrive Special. Now I know these guys put a ton of research into voicing this thing to really have that Dumble characteristic. I feel like, in my opinion, that it's voiced really nicely, and it does indeed have all of those really amazing characteristics. Dumbles are very immediate, especially in the clean channel, but they also have a lot of power amp sag as you run them hotter. There's just it's a magical thing with Dumble, and I think they've captured it really nicely. It can be run either mono or stereo, but let's just get into what's on top of it, and then we'll go from there. What's on top of it is based on a Dumble Overdrive Special. So on the bottom row, all of these switches, aside from the cabinet switches, we'll get into that. It's basically Dumble Overdrive Special. So you've got 3 switches. You've got your jazz rock switch. In the rock setting, it's going to have way more low end and be really punchy. Jazz is going to be a little bit more neutral, a little bit more mid-present. There's a mid boost next to that. If you turn the mid boost on, it's going to be very apparent, and you'll hear it in the demo. It makes everything really fat. We'll check that out. And then, of course, there's a bright switch. Now, the bright switch is more like a bright cap on a Marshall. So if you have the volume up hotter than, I would say, maybe 2 o'clock, the bright switch is going to be less and less apparent, but it sounds great. And we'll check that out in the demo. And then you have your tone stack, treble, mid, and bass. The mid is not like a typical like honky or like bitey mid. It's a way fatter kind of low mid. We'll check that out for sure, as well as the treble and bass in the demo. Now on the left side of this pedal, you have a series of switches. These are your cabinet sim switches. You've got a switch that's going to allow you to choose between your cabinet size. So you can go 2x12 open back. It's going to be spread out sounding, but a little more kind of mid focused. You've got a 1x12 open back, which is going to be typical of an Overdrive Special combo. And then you have a 4x12 that's a closed back, which was honestly my favorite. That's what I used for that demo tune. We'll check out how all of those sound. Right next to that, you have a speaker option. You can choose between a G12M or a G12H or an EVH12L, or I should say EV12L, which was very common in all the Dumble Overdrive specials I played. And we'll get into how those sound. The three choices are very apparent when I bang through them for you. My favorite was the G12M and the 4x12 cab. Since this is a stereo amp, you can have your choice on the right and left side of cabinet. So if you were going to run it in stereo, you could run, a 4x12 on the left and maybe a 1x12 on the right, and mix accordingly. And I did try that. It sounds killer. I'm not going to demo it that way. When I first plugged it in and I was getting set up for the tune, I just preferred to use it in mono so that I could pan things where I wanted them, just for the sake of the mix. So that's how we're going to be listening to it in mono. And then across the top of it are your potentiometers. You have your volume control for your clean channel. For your overdrive channel, you have a drive and ratio control. We'll get into how all those work in the demo. The volume cascades into the drive channel. You don't really dial your clean volume to like be on the edge of breakup. You dial it more for how you want it to feel. We'll check it out in the demo. It does cascade into the drive section, so the two are rather sympathetic to each other, but once you get it dialed, it's great. The ratio control, look at that as like your master volume of the overdrive channel. I'll explain that more in the demo. You have a master out and a master presence. We'll check those out for sure. The master volume has a sweet spot, in my humble opinion, at around 2 o'clock. It reacts if you run the ratio control on the overdrive channel hotter. You can actually slightly overdrive the master volume. We'll check all that out in the demo, but that's what's going on as far as the switches and potentiometers on the top. You have 3 foot switches. One is to bypass it. So if you're going to bypass it, that would be because you're running it to maybe the front end of an amplifier. That's what that does. In this case, it's just going to be on because I'm going to demo this as a preamp because I just thought it sounded amazing. I did try it to the front end of an amplifier with the cab sims off. It sounded really good, but in my humble opinion, I think it's best as a really great sounding preamp. Where was I? Oh, okay, yeah. So that's why the bypass switch is happening. There's a lot going on with this pedal. The switch in the center is your channel switch, so you can choose between the overdrive channel and the clean channel. It toggles back and forth. And then the switch on the left allows you to turn on the reverb and the preamp boost. The preamp boost is 9 dB of preamp boost, and that's what was on Dumbles into the front end of the preamp. We'll definitely check that out. One thing to keep in mind is if you're going to employ the foot switch for the preamp boost, then the reverb is always on. Basically, there's a switch here. If you have it set to reverb, it'll just turn the reverb on and off. If you throw the switch down to preamp boost, it automatically has the reverb stay on, and then you can turn the preamp boost on and off. But that's what's going on with that switch. And speaking of reverb, on the front of the pedal, there's your reverb control. It's going to be your reverb volume. You can choose between 3 different types of reverbs. We'll check them out in the mix. They all sound really good. You can choose between plate, ether, or room. I used the plate reverb for all the solo sounds, and for the crunch sound, I used the room reverb, but we'll get into how those sound. On the left side in the front here, you have your headphone out, or level for your headphone out. There's a switch next to that for the aux out. Basically what that is allowing for is if you're using the aux in, which is on the side of the pedal, like you want to practice something or whatever it may be, play to a track, you can listen to that through the headphones only, or if you want it to be through the DIs as well, you can throw a switch and it'll allow for that. On the input side of the pedal, where the guitar plugs in, you have an option there. You have 3 choices. You have either what's called off, and then you can choose input boost, low, or high. Where I liked it the most was in the low setting. Now, it's obviously to compensate for like single coils or whatever it is you may be using, but in my opinion, it's like pick what you like regardless of the pickups, because all 3 positions sounded really great. I preferred it in the low setting. Across the board, I thought it sounded really good, but we'll check that out in the demo. On the other side of the pedal, you have your left and right unbalanced outputs, your 1/4 inch outs. Those you can bypass the cab sim. So if you wanted to run this thing direct and use your own IRs, you can do that. Or if you want to run it maybe to the front end of an amplifier, or even better, run it to the power section of an amplifier, you can bypass the cab sim via the switches underneath. On the back of the pedal, you have an effects loop that is stereo. It's got a mono send and then a right and left return. Now what's cool about this is if you plug it, if you say you're running this in stereo and you plug like a delay, that's what I'm going to demo. In the demo you'll see, but if, like, say you want to use a delay, if you plug it into the mono return and it's, it's a mono delay, you'll get the effect on both outputs, left and right. But if you plug it into just the right side, it's cool because then you'll get the effect just on the right side. So like, say you want to just chorus on the right side, nothing on the left, or delay, or whatever it may be. I thought that was a really thoughtful feature. Obviously, if you're using a stereo unit, then like ping-ponging delays or whatever, then you'd use both sides. And then you have your left and right direct outs, which are XLR, which is what I used straight into my Apogee Quartet. Below that, you've got a ground lift, just in case you get some buzzy buzz, you can deal with it. I hope I haven't missed anything. There's a lot to demo on this. Yeah, let's check it out. It is the DSM and Humboldt Dumblifier Overdrive Special. Okay, so I was just letting you guys hear this thing, the Dumblifier, the way I would use it, the way I would dial it with the pedals that I would like to have with it, just for kind of how I play. I tried a bunch of pedals into it, including the Death Star board back there, just into the clean channel, and I can attest that it does take pedals really well. When demoing it, it's like, yeah, I wanted to use something at the front end of it and let you guys hear the effects loop as well. But I settled on just using a boost pedal. So on the right side of this thing, it's not on camera, but I'm using a rev tilt boost just as a clean boost to hit the overdrive channel. Obviously, there's a preamp boost on the Dumblifier that sounds amazing as well. But if I want to still employ that tone stack with the overdrive channel and get more, I think a tilt in front of this thing or I should say a clean boost in front of this thing. Sounds really good. I do have a delay in the effects loop so that you guys can hear it. I'm using the Halo Core delay, just a simple, you know, basically kind of single delay, nothing tricky there. I just wanted you guys to hear like, well, this is how I would use this thing, you know, if it were basically my choice. So here's what I would like to do is obviously shut all that stuff off. The reverb obviously is coming from the pedal. That sounds really good. But for now, I'm gonna shut off the reverb and let you guys just hear. We'll start on the clean channel, and then I'll get into the rest of it. The volume on the clean channel, you don't dial it to kind of overdrive. You dial it to how you want it to feel. How much, you know, compression do you want? I found that around 2 o'clock is how it felt best for me. It really won't break up, even if you dime it. If you turn it down, that's where you're going to be able to actually hear the bright switch. Where I had it set at about 2 o'clock, it's still apparent, but not as apparent. As you get above that, you won't hear it at all because it's like a Marshall kind of bright cap circuit. I liked it around 2 o'clock. Now keep in mind, this does cascade into the overdrive channel. So as you know, I dialed the pedal for the clean channel, EQ everything, and then dialed in what I wanted from the overdrive channel. Let's do this. We heard the bright switch. I found that it was subtle enough. I mean, you can hear it even at around 2 o'clock on the volume, that I just left it on. It sounded fine. Kind of set and forget on that. Now the mid boost. Super apparent. Here's rock jazz. Once again, very apparent. The thing to keep in mind, and we'll get into these cab sims, is I'm running the 4x12 cab sim right now. So I think the mid boost and really the rock jazz are not needed. I think where it would come in more handy is if you're using a 1x12 cab, which is what the typical overdrive specials, the combos were. That's when like the mid boost and rock jazz would come in handy. So now I'm on a 1x12 cab. Now the rock setting sounds really cool. Whereas on the 4x12 cab, it was too much. Here's the mid boost. Now if I was using EV12L 1x12 open back, which was very common, way more chime up top, maybe you want the mid boost. Or maybe you still want the low end. So that's what's going on with those. I'll come back around to the cab sim and let you guys hear that. For now, I'm going to stay on the 4x12 G12M. I'll just leave the bright switch on. Bass, mid, and treble. Here's bass off. Bass all the way up. It is massive. I liked it about right there. On the 4x12, obviously it would vary depending on what cab you're using. Mids are a really fat mid. That's off. Here's all the way up. So it's like a low mid. I reached for that more when I was dialing in the overdrive channel, just subtly. And then here's the treble. Here's all the way up. All the way off. I liked it around 2 o'clock. Really everything around 2 o'clock. It's like lucky number 7, I guess, is where I'm landing. Obviously, there's a global presence in that master section. all the way off. I dialed that to taste, but I liked it at around like 11 o'clock-ish. The master volume on this thing obviously has more than just a volume effect. As you run it a little bit hotter, it's going to feel a little bit more compressed. You can overdrive that channel, I should say the master section, because it is a 0-watt amp, especially if you're in the overdrive channel and you turn the ratio up, which is the master volume for the overdrive channel. It'll hit the master harder and cause a little more compression and maybe a little more breakup. I liked the master. It sounded to me the best at about, once again, around 2 o'clock. Really just sounded good for me. And then reverb, let's turn that on. I'll just turn it way up. 3 different reverbs. This one's a plate reverb. There's a room verb, way shorter. Still fairly bright. I really liked that for like crunch rhythm sounds. And then there's a way longer reverb. All 3 sound really good. I gravitated towards the plate reverb the most. That's kind of my favorite. So that's what's going on in the clean channel. We've heard a lot as far as what's going on with the tone stack and what have you. Let's go to the drive channel. So I was just kind of, subtly turning things while I was dialing it in. I let you hear the mid boost in the rock jazz setting. On the 4x12 cab, didn't feel that that was necessary, but you can certainly use it. There are no rules. Yeah, that's a really fat, that mid boost is really fat. Let's just look at the amount of gain. Right now I'm at about 2 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and turn it all the way up. So it's really expressive. It feels nice for me, like all the way up. I had it dialed for most of the demo, especially that song, at about, once again, 2 o'clock. Because I thought it felt best with where I had that volume set. If you have that volume set lower, because it does cascade, it's going to have less gain. If you have the volume all the way up, because it cascades, more gain, more low end. It's a delicate balance between the two, but once you get it, it's set. Now there's a ratio, that's essentially the ratio between the clean and overdrive, but think of it as a channel master for the overdrive. If you run it hotter, it sounds fatter, but you have to keep in mind that you're balancing your clean sound with your overdrive sound. So if I want it to be slightly hotter, that's great because it's going to sound bigger. That's how that sounds best. You know, we can make it so it's more bitey, more treble. Even more lows. We can add presence to the whole thing. Keeping in mind that, you know, this is a shared tone stack and presence, but, you know, if you do want it more kind of bitey up top, you know, it's probably not going to hurt your clean sound. It'll still be really sweet. So, you know, with the gain all the way up, as I mentioned, that feels great. If you need more, you have the preamp boost. Just keep in mind that bypasses your tone stack, but it feels great for soloing. Even with it turned down a bit without it, and then turning it on. Works really great. So while I'm on the drive channel, let's bang through these cabinets. So Greenback 12M, or I'll just say G12M, G12H, or EV12L. I'll just let you hear on the 4x12 cab the difference between those. Right now we're on the G12M, which was my favorite. G12H. EV12L. Tons of top end, tons of glass. Now I'll just bang through the cabinets. I like the 412. Here's a 1x12. More kind of mid-focused. We could add the rock setting. Make it sound bigger. Here's a 2x12. The 2x12 is open back, so it's going to be a little more spread out sounding than 1x12, but a little bit more mid forward. If we're going to go EV12L and 1x12, which would be more the classic Dumble thing, we can adjust accordingly if it's a little too toppy. Now shut the bright off. If I want more low end, use the rock switch. If I want more mids, EV12L is really neutral. It might be nice to have the mids in there. All of that works really nicely with these different cabs. I think they all sound great. Like I said, 4x12, G12M, that was my favorite. There is a switch on the right side of the pedal at the input. It's a JFET, basically boost, that allows you to pick the level. There's a low level and a high level, and then essentially a neutral. I'm running it in basically what would be considered the low boost. If I put it in the center, which is essentially neutral, sounds cool, but not as much gain. Now, if you do want to use this thing with more gain, use it in the high setting, because it'll still, you're not overdriving that front volume. So if you're wanting more gain, here's no boost. More. Turn the bright back on. Neutral. Still sounds good, but here's where I love it. And then of course, as I mentioned before, it takes a boost pedal great. And then of course, you know, add delay to it. So obviously you can do like the slick Lukather thing. There's so much you can do on this pedal. This demo's already taken too long. I'm really impressed with this. It is the DSM Humboldt Dumbifier Overdrive Special. If you've got any other questions about it, as I always say, go to the website and check it out. And as always, I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you on the next one.